This is AM Joy, September 23rd, 2017.
Raises this question. Did Manafort use his Trump ties for a Russian payday? Joining me now is Democratic Representative from California, Ted Lieu, journalist and scholar of authoritarian states, Sarah Kendzior, and former FBI double agent Naveed Jamali. And Congressman, I'm going to start with you on that. This news that 10 months later, the Department of Homeland Security, which used to be headed by one General John Kelly, finally comes out and tells 21 states that they were indeed the target of Russian hacking. And these include swing states like Wisconsin, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. What do you make of the lateness of that report?
It is highly disturbing that the Department of Homeland Security waited so long to notify these states, but it also shows very clearly that the President of the United States is just lying when he says this is a Russia hoax. It is not a hoax. Russia engaged in a massive cyber attack and influence campaign last year to disrupt our elections, to help Donald Trump, to hurt Secretary Clinton. Even his own intelligence agencies say that, and he ought to listen to his own administration staff.
If Democrats controlled the House of Representatives, would this be the subject of hearings?
Oh, absolutely. We need to have a bipartisan commission like the 9/11 Commission to investigate what happened with this Russian attack. How do we keep it from happening again? And who is responsible?
Yeah, and Sarah Kendzior, we have this happening at the same time that there was a massive investigation going on, a tranche of documents being requested from the White House, just the list of requests from Robert Mueller, from Michael Flynn alone, of course, Flynn having been the national security advisor, heavily tied to Russia, now requests for statements from Sean Spicer, the copious notes he reportedly took. Do you think that the administration at this point can start to see the walls closing in? And is that why Donald Trump is still lashing out and asking, are there any Russians in the audience, and again denying that he had anything to do with them?
I mean, yeah, Trump is basically issuing the same rhetoric that he's been issuing since last year. And again, he was surrounded by these same people last year, by Manafort, by Flynn, who spoke at the Republican National Convention. He's had these ties. He hasn't seemed particularly concerned that there would actually be repercussions for them until now. And of course, Mueller is just doing his job of, looking not only at the campaign, but what's happened since Trump has been in the White House, including giving state secrets away to Russians in the Oval Office, confessing to obstruction of justice on TV, and so forth. So yeah, of course Trump is going to lash out when he's in this position, when there's so much visible public evidence against him, as well as whatever Mueller uncovered on his own.
And Naveed, you have now all of these data points. You have the fact that we now know that Paul Manafort was the subject of wiretaps. The U.S. government wiretapped him, according to CNN, the Wall Street Journal, and others. We also now know that Manafort offered briefings to this Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, in one April exchange. Days after he was named as campaign strategist, Manafort referred to his positive press and growing reputation and asked, how do we get whole? What does this tell you about what Manafort's involvement was? Was he somebody who was opening a door to allow Russia to interfere via the Trump campaign, in your view?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Joy. I think there's a couple of things we know about Manafort. First, I believe he wasn't paid by Trump. So to me, that tells me that he was given a wink and a nod by Trump that says, hey, look, you can take this position and make of it what you want, which exactly opened the door for the communications with the Russians. Look, even if he went out to Deripaska and Deripaska never answered him, I am almost positive that Oleg Deripaska walked to the Russian intelligence, and Russian intelligence took a look at that and figured out how they could use it. The other thing, Joy, is we've heard that Mueller is going back as far back in terms of Manafort as 2006. Look, Manafort's history reads like a who's of despots of who he supported. The fact that he didn't register as a FARA agent under FARA until 2017 is shocking. And I have to say, to Ted's point, this brings up the specter that I hate to say this, but from my vantage point, I've seen since the Cold War ended, our counterintelligence has atrophied. And look, as a result, it allows the Russians to get in. And until we fix that, we are at risk. And I can't beat that drum loud enough.
Yeah, and Congressman, you have here the also use of technology to invade our election. We now know that in terms of using Facebook, there's a Daily Beast article about promoting Trump gatherings, actually promoting meetups, demonstrations at least one of which was promoted online by local pro-Trump activists, brought dozens of supporters together in real life. They appear to be the first case of Russian provocateurs actually mobilizing Americans over Facebook in direct support of Donald Trump. Facebook now saying that it will hand over the ads that were bought with rubles
Yes.
these Russia-linked ads over to Congress. So we now have that aspect of it too. Is this being properly investigated by Congress?
I believe the special counsel is definitely on it. He has subpoenaed Facebook. He's trying to get documents. So in this case, it's clear that the Russians violated law because they were trying to influence our campaign. A foreign power can't do that. If there is evidence that Jared Kushner, who was working on these similar issues during the campaign, was coordinating with the Russians on who to target, then Jared Kushner also violated the law. And by the way, we need to ask, why does Jared Kushner still have a security clearance?
Yeah.
It needs to be revoked right now.
And Sarah, you know, is this of a piece with the way that Russia has operated in other elections, or was there something different about the way that they did it in our election?
No, I mean, this is certainly similar to what they've done in other elections, whether in, former Soviet republics or more recently in their intervention in Brexit. I think their tactics change with technology. I think the use of social media opened up new opportunities for them. But both the use of oligarchs, of money laundering, of trying to alter political platforms, all of that is similar to what they've done in other places.
And Naveed, you've made the point over and over again that they could just do it again because we haven't hardened our defenses at all.
That's absolutely right. And to piggyback on exactly what Sarah and the congressman are saying, look, the Cold War ended, the Soviet Union collapsed, communism failed, but Russia picked up the mantle. They viewed democracy as a direct threat to them, and until we take this on as a challenge, they're going to do it again.
Yeah, Congressman Ted Lieu, Sarah Kendzior, Naveed Jamali, thank you guys very much for being here. And coming up in our next hour, my one-on-one interview with Hillary Clinton.